Chat. My name is Aaron Apter. If you're new to this channel, I'm a professional drummer here in Nashville, Tennessee, where I do a lot of my work playing live, touring, recording, just basically living the musician's life here in Nashville. And again, if you're new, I moved to Nashville at the end of 2021, and I really hadn't played music that much in the past probably decade. And somehow the music bug got me again, and in 2023 I decided to go full-time playing music. And now I'm back here, and now I'm in Nashville, excuse me, playing full-time as a musician, kind of navigating the scene. And what I really wanted to do was kind of make this channel as a way of documenting my experiences and almost as a letter to a previous version of myself. Because there was a lot of questions I had when I came to town that I had to find out the hard way. And I really want to share that information with other people, like what it's like playing in Nashville, how to get into the scene here, how to network, how to find gigs, how to break in. So I do this weekly live chat where I basically come in and say, all right, everything's fair game. So if you are here tuning in, say hello. And yeah, I would love to chat with any of you about what I've been doing here this week in Nashville. I was on the road the previous week. I was playing out in the West Coast. And then this week, I primarily played in Nashville. And I'm actually still just kind of pulling it together after playing last night's gig. Played last night gig, played till about 2:30, didn't get home till about 3:30, didn't get to bed till about 4:30. So sometimes when you're playing those late gigs here in Nashville, the next day is a little bit rough. But yeah, I also played the previous day with Aaron Nichols, and also did a local gig, a rare local gig with Cara Granger, because we're usually out on the road touring, playing more national venues. But we got to play Dee's Lounge, which is a great place here in Nashville, and I'll be posting a video of that coming up this week. So, but I would love to answer any questions. And hey, Uli, so you were watching the Saturday gig last night. Thanks for tuning in. Which angle were you looking at? Were you looking at the side angle of the stage, or were you looking at the cam or the back by the drums? So I had two cameras going last night. I had drum booth where you could actually hear my in-ear mix, and then I had this side stage camera where you can kind of get a vibe for the whole club and how kind of crazy and wild it is on a Saturday night. And playing Saturday nights, yeah. So Uli was watching the left stage side angle, and there's about an hour of that if you want to tune in. I think that's on the live section of my channel. But that gives you a really good feel for what it's like playing in Nashville on a Saturday night on the wildest of all times, which is late night Saturday night. And that's usually when I can start seeing people crying, people puking. You see all the things that you usually see at late night bars. You just see it about 10 times bigger. And also, so last night was kind of a last minute gig where I got asked several hours before, hey, can you cover the shift with me? And it's with a guy I played before, Jay Burgess, but it was also with two other musicians who I'd never met or played with before. And we basically had to cover 4 hours of music, unrehearsed. We didn't know each other. We just said, all right, we're gonna play this. We're gonna play these tunes. Let's go. And for a lot of people, even musicians, that seems kind of like, wow, that's a tall order. And it is. But when you're in Nashville and you learn how to play on Nashville's Lower Broadway, that's a skill you develop. Or at least I think most of us should have developed. You're basically playing with a group of strangers every day, and you have to be able to figure out how to play with everybody right there on the spot. So that's what we were doing last night. We were, just throwing it together and playing a gig and trying to make it work. And I think most of us were on the same page. I think the bass player, he may have been used to a little bit different type of gig, so we were a lot of what I was doing. So if you watch back the stream, you can see from the drum booth, a lot of times I'm yelling into the mic. I'm yelling flat 3. Now we're going to a 7, and that's really chord changes because the bassist didn't know the songs, I think, and a lot of times we were just trying to help him out. But if you're just joining here right now, hop in the chat, say hello. Like Isla, hi Isla, how are you doing? Let me know how you're doing. Let me know if I can answer any questions for you, if you tuned into any gigs this week. I'm also doing, this coming week, I'm playing with Kevin Daniel, and that's going to be a Tuesday night gig, and I'm going to stream that live. So you see on my channel, I have a live section where I really try to give everybody what it's like to be a fly on the wall in some of these gigs. Sometimes you see from my angle, sometimes you see from backstage, but it's really, yeah, Trey Max, so are you saying zipper? Yeah, right there. So that zipper is broken, and yeah, so sorry for the gratuitous crotch shot, but yeah. And I put these pants on when I don't think people can see my crotch, like when I'm doing a live YouTube stream. Oh, thank you, Paul. So Paul's been watching for a while. And hey, Maggie. Maggie was watching last night as well. Oh, Isla, I'm sorry. My bad. Thank you for correcting me. I really appreciate that. But Maggie was watching last night. So Maggie, tell me, you were tuning into the live stream last night. What did you see? What did you think? Do you have any questions about it? Because really, for me, when I'm doing these live chats, I really want to know like what questions everybody has, because this is something I do every day, and some of it just seems like standard operating procedure to me, but for other people, they're really curious about it. Hey, Joel, how's it going? Joel's my friend. He's out in Tucson. He's a guitarist out in Tucson. But yeah, so, and that's another great thing about YouTube as well. So when I do these live chats, or with my channel, really what I try to not do it as a way of smoke and mirrors for everybody. I try not to put on this show or this presentation and be fake, but I really try to give everybody a view for what it's like on the ground level. And I think about everybody here, not as fans, but really just as kind of friends that I'm hanging out with, chatting with. You're just following my journey. I try to make it seem like you could be me, I could be you, because that's really what it is. Because playing music for a living, it seems like it's like this crazy endeavor, and sometimes it can be, but it's also really accessible. So Isla, you're asking what type of music I play. Well, that's a great question. An easy way for say that is whatever they're paying me to play. When I moved to Nashville a couple years ago, I did not know any country music whatsoever, like literally none. And I had to learn a lot of country music very quickly. So last night I was playing a blend of country and southern rock, and then even like pop rock. Really, I do a variety of styles. On this week, I'm going to be playing with Kevin Daniel. Kevin Daniel is kind of more of a folk Americana act, and then previously I was playing with Cara Granger this week. She's kind of more of a soul, funk, blues singer-songwriter. And really, I play like a variety of styles, and I don't really try to pigeonhole myself, but I like to keep myself open and, yeah, play as many different styles as possible. And if I don't know it, well, you figure it out. And sometimes just throwing yourself into the fire really gets you there. And yeah, if you want to banjo is another great instrument to play. I've been working on my banjo chops a little bit lately on the side. So I've been doing a lot more guitar and piano lately. So I'm also working on a solo album that I don't think a lot of people know about, and I'm going to drop at the end of the year. But most people see me as, you can see everything behind me, as a drummer. And that's really my main focus, but that's primarily what I make my money on. But I also love playing other instruments, and I love playing music. But feel free to ask me any questions. Feel free to give me any feedback. What's on your mind? Do you have any questions about what it's like working as a professional musician, what it's like living in Nashville, the whole touring operations, how I make my money? Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much for the compliments. And I really do think, not because of me, but I think in the styles of music I play, the drummer really does drive most of the song. So if you have a bad drummer in a good band, that band's not going to sound that good. But if you have a bad band but a really good drummer, the drummer can always make a band sounds really push them forward. So Maggie, what about being a studio artist? Like, what questions do you have? Are you curious about what original artists I play with in the studio, or if I'm trying to sell my music and become a solo independent artist, like a Phil Collins or something like that? Like, really, music exists in so many different areas, and you can make it professionally in so many different ways. And people often think that it's a feast or a famine, that you're either really rich and famous or you're poor and struggling. They don't see that there's this wide area in between. And I kind of exist in those areas where I do a lot of different things, and sometimes I struggle a little bit, but I'm making my living solely playing music, and that's really all I want to do. And with like making money in music, I think there's a lot of misnomers about it, both amongst musicians and non-musicians. So with the music industry, most people are like, ooh, that's a tough industry. And I would say, yeah, that's correct. Like most industries, it is tough. And most people think that it's either feast or famine. And sometimes you might see that, but really, it's not all or nothing. There's so many different areas in between. You can make your money licensing your music, publishing. You can make your money. I'm making my money as a side supporting musician right now. And it pays all my bills. I don't do anything else except play music right now. Now, do I have to hustle? Of course, yeah. But keep in mind, I just started doing this full time last year and abandoned my other career to exclusively pursue music. And I think right now in the music industry, there's so many opportunities available, especially because internet, social media, the way we consume media is just so rapidly changing. And when things rapidly changing, there's all this new opportunity. You just have to create it for yourself. You have to be there before it explodes. And I think part of my opportunity is doing some live content, talking with people, and it's also even, so like one of the things I'm doing, actually, if you can see in the description in my channel, I actually just have released a package of 4,000 song charts that I use for my gigs. And like literally, there's 4,000 songs I have ready at the drop of a hat if somebody calls them. But I also have them on my iPad, so if somebody else in the band needs them, I can just send them my charts. But those are things, so like I'm selling charts online right now. I have one package for like 100. That's like, I think $12. But I have like one package of like my master list, which has taken me like a year of like working at it hours a day, and I'm just giving away for $100 because I think other musicians could really benefit from it. But also, that's another way I make money. It's just, okay, I'm working in music, but I can also do something that I've done with music, and I can have that making money for me while I'm sleeping, while I'm on a gig. And yeah, let me see, we have, so Groovin at Banklot, thank you so much. If there's anything, you want to ask, feel free to let me know. And yeah, so Maggie, you make another really good point. They say you have to put yourself out there. And that's a great point. And one thing that I was always afraid to do when I was younger was to put myself out there, was to market and promote myself. Because I grew up kind of believing that if you were really great at something, you didn't need to tell everybody about it. You just did it. Like, I don't need to sell you on something. I can just show you. I found that the more some musicians talk about how amazing they are, the less I'm impressed with their playing. But sometimes someone just shows up and plays and it's really great. And so and Maggie, what's your question about what does that mean? But like, in terms of putting myself out there, I've always been really reluctant to do it until like last year. And I was actually like going to like kind of a sports psychologist, kind of a someone to help me with my performance and my mental game. And they were saying, well, you say you're really good at music and you're confident in your skills, but you're not out there marketing yourself. Why not? And I told this therapist why, because I didn't think I needed to be telling people because I would seem too thirsty or desperate. And he said, well, if nobody knows who you are and knows who you exist, they're never going to call you for a gig. So that's why I really started doing YouTube. And so Maggie, what you're saying, what I'm selling, and again, I've literally just put that link in today. If you look at the description in this YouTube, this live chat right now, I literally have, I have an example of all my charts that I'm kind of like, that I literally use. So charts, it's a package of basically PDFs. They're basically songs. And they're using the Nashville number system. And so what it is it's basically like, it is a chord chart of a song. And if you have that, the Nashville number system is a shorthand method of understanding how to play songs, like seeing the harmonic progression. So a lot of times I'll say like, all right, this song coming up, it's a 1451, which means it's a 1 chord followed by a 4 chord followed by a 5 followed by a 1. That's like the first cycle of a song. And so that's what I mean by a chart. A chart is basically a roadmap of a song. It's reading music, but it's doing it in the Nashville number system shorthand way. And if anybody's curious about the Nashville number system, I can let you know about that. But it's something that many of us use here, whether we're on studio gigs, whether we're on live gigs. It's a way that you can create a chart in about 10 minutes of a song that you've never heard before, and you can play it without hearing it. You can just kind of, okay, look at this chart and see how this song flows. And it's a skill you have to develop both in writing and reading it, but it's incredibly effective. I hope that answers your question, Maggie. But curious if anybody has any other questions. If you do, tune in right here. Like, just put it in the description. And I think Paul had a question from earlier. And Paul, to answer your question, yes, I do. I do sing sometimes, and I'll be singing on my solo album that's going to be at the end of the year. But that's definitely a work in progress. But if anyone, next question, or if anybody wants to share anything that they're doing musically or how it can relate to Nashville. You know, I had somebody on my channel last night. Now, Matt, I mean, I always say it's like first come, first serve, Maggie, so feel free to ask away. You know, I also had someone on my channel last night say that they've always wanted to come to Nashville, but they didn't think they were good enough to play here. And I hear that a lot. And I always tell people the same 12 notes that are played in Nashville are played everywhere else. So if you're playing music in your hometown, you can play music here. Yeah, there's a lot of competition here. Yeah, there's a lot of great musicians, but also there's a lot of opportunity. And you can always find some place to really kind of carve out your niche. Uli, thank you. So, and Uli, if you're curious about or if you know the Nashville number system, you know, feel free to let people know about it. But yeah, Uli's a guitarist, and I'm guessing he can read it. So we have Groovin' at Bancroft asking, do you have any examples or have heard about any foreign musicians who moved to Nashville, immigrated to the U.S., and succeeded in having a career? So that's a great question. I would suggest checking out my friend Andrea Benz. She's a guitarist that I play with many times, and she and I are still trying to link up, trying to find a good time, because I'm actually going to have her on a Sunday live chat. But she's from Switzerland, and she came to the United States specifically to play guitar, and that's exactly what she's doing right now. You know, she's a great guitarist, and she's having herself a career right now. And really, also, like, think about what a career is for you. And some people think a career is either you're wildly famous and successful or you're nothing. And there's lots of people in Nashville that are making a living. They're not wildly, like, famous. They aren't rich, but they are making a living, like me. I'm making a living. I pay all my bills. I'm looking to keep growing my career, both in terms of finances, but in terms of artistry, but yeah, it's very possible. I know with immigrating to the United States, yeah, there's always going to be hurdles that I don't know anything about. But if you're coming in here, I tell anybody, you can make it here. It's just like you have to be ready to put in the work, ready to network, ready to practice your ass off, ready to be humbled. So Casey asks, do I always use charts? Do most bands you play with follow the same structure for the covers you're doing, or is it allowed to make a song your own and mess with the structure? So yes and no to all those questions, Casey. So that's it's a very broad question, and I say every situation is going to be very unique. So in terms of charts, I used charts a lot more when I was new to Nashville, and I didn't know as many of the songs. Last night, I don't think I used any charts, just because I knew all the songs. Sometimes I'll use a chart to reference like maybe the BPM or maybe the song structure. But yeah, I mainly just go off of memory, but I got to memory by writing out those charts or by like playing along with those charts for so many times on gigs. And as far as, but also like if I'm playing with an original artist on like an hour's notice, I'm gonna say, hey, I need to have some charts. You cool with that? And they're usually fine with that. And as long as I'm prepared, cool. Now, do most bands follow the same structure for the covers you're doing? I would say yes and no. So there's some people are like, you can kind of figure that out when you're playing with the people, and you kind of like go based on how they react to music, and you usually figure that out within the first few minutes. Now, if you're playing with people that you know and trust and you stretch it out, and sometimes people just stretch things out a little bit more, yeah, that's cool. But I find that if I'm playing with a brand new group of people that never played before I try to play as close as possible, and really not mess with the formula. But also sometimes everyone has a different idea of what the original formula is. There's a saying that there's the right way and then there's the Broadway, meaning that on Broadway, sometimes people play songs not the way it's originally recorded, but everyone's played it down there so much that it's just become, oh, this is the way it's done down there. So yeah, it all depends, and it all depends on what instrument you're playing as well. So I always defer to the person who has the paycheck. Whose gig is it? So when I'm playing with Aaron Nichols, if he wants to play a song a little bit differently, like I know for the end of Neon Moon, he always, like that last line where he hangs out that neon moon, he always hangs it out a little bit longer than the recording. And I wouldn't know that unless I play with him a bunch, but it's his gig and I follow him on it. Sometimes if I want to take some liberties with a song and stretch it out, I'll say into the talkback mic, hey, let's keep it rolling. And that's because I built a relationship with Aaron over time. But really, it's a lot of it is like based on who you're. It's every situation is unique. I hope that answers your question, Casey. Thank you. Maggie asked, "Am I happy?" That's a great question. Are we talking personally? Are we talking professionally? I would say professionally right now I'm fulfilled. I'm not content with where I'm at. Or I'm not satisfied. I'm really proud of what I've done with restarting my musical career, like starting it from nothing and learning all this stuff that I'd never learned before, and I just dove right into it. So I'm really invigorated by my musical career, and I'm really fulfilled by what I'm doing in my journey. I always want to be playing with finding new opportunities, but I really love the people I play with, and I'm enjoying the growth. Personally, I would say this is personally the roughest year of my life. I'm probably in just, I would say, personal hell, but it's also, there's a lot of growth there, and there's a lot of, growing hurts sometimes, and it's uncomfortable. And I don't shy away from that. Like, I'm having a pretty difficult time in my personal life, but sometimes you got to go through these things to grow and improve, and that's kind of where I'm at. So thanks for that question, Maggie. Yeah, so Uli he's a guitarist, and he's like, yeah, I would say the more you can expose yourself to playing in different situations and playing songs in different key, or sometimes a singer needs to take it down a half step, a whole step, natural number system's a great way to do it. Oh man, yeah, Joel, this is great. So Joel is saying that yeah, he's a little bit rusty and played 2 sets, and first one was kind of a little bit bumpy, and the second one he loosened up a bit. And I find sometimes that's maybe like a physical thing, but then also sometimes it's a mental thing. Sometimes you just need to get into the groove. And you also tell yourself, like, I did this 2 or 3 weeks ago. Nothing has changed in my skill sets. I'm probably wiser, better now than I was before. I can do this. And easier said than done. But I think the more you do it, the more you get, yeah, you adapt to that. So Dan the drummer says, do you feel the fast gospel chops are necessary for playing in Nashville? Well, that's a great question, Dan. Are you trying to play in a gospel band? Are you trying to do a gospel church thing where those chops are part of that genre? And if so, yeah. I don't have gospel chops. And that's not a knock on me. That is not a feather in my cap. It's just what it is. But what style of music do you want to play? What kind of musician are you? I could go do a gospel gigs. I would probably not be quite as aggressive with my fills and my styles, but like, really, you don't have to play in a certain way. Like, music is not a competition. It's not a chops showcase. It's about being an authentic version of yourself, playing as you are, sharing your experience as a human being and using that on your instrument. I find that if you really just lean into who you are as a musician and a person, you find your space. Yeah, I don't think gospel chops are necessary. If you want to play a gospel gig, it might be helpful to have, but really, like, if you're playing drums, especially if you're a drummer, this is what you gotta do. Boom, clap, boom, clap. Seriously, stomp and clap. That's 90% of it. And that's placing that stomp and clap in the right space and leaving enough space in between them. Because when people go out to hear music, they want to sing, they want to dance, they want to feel good. Sometimes doing some chop stuff, a little show off, it's a novelty and it's fun. But people, they really let loose and let their guard down when you play songs that hit them emotionally. And I find that chops don't always do that for people. It's leaving space. It is playing songs in the right way. But that's just my opinion. Charles Bush, do you like Dave Matthews Band? Yeah, I mean, I listened to Carter Beauford growing up, of course. Yeah, he was great. Yeah, so Casey, there might be some unspoken rules, but then those are constantly evolving on Broadway. Those are constantly evolving around Nashville, and it all depends on what circles you're in. And also, I find there's so many musicians coming in and out of Nashville. It's rapidly changing right now. The scene is changing all across the board. You can come to Nashville and never play a country song and be working your ass off. And in different circles and different genres, they have different unspoken rules. And I try not to speak in generalities, but the best way to kind of figure these out is boots on the ground. Get out there, play, and if you're in a new situation, try to be a little bit conservative, get a lay of the land before you really start asserting yourself. And let me see, got some new comments. So Groovin' at Bankloft saying, oops, I accidentally, I'm using a touchscreen, so Tyler Shep, if you want to send me that comment again, because I accidentally deleted it. But Groovin' at Bank Shep, so you're a professional session basis and small work looking at other possible ventures. And if you're a session bassist, that's great. And the great thing about right now with music is that if you have internet and you're recording, you can record at home. You can do virtual tracks for people. I suggest people check out my friend Nicky V. I interviewed him about a week or a month ago. About a month ago on my channel. he does a lot of virtual tracking from home. And that's a definite skill that you have to develop, and it's also a business you have to develop. And I think a lot of musicians are they're really good at developing maybe their skills, but maybe not their business sense, maybe not their marketing sense. So if you're a great player, but you don't market yourself, you don't find a way to manage your money and make more money, you're never going to make it. Just like if you find a way to manage your money and market yourself, but you can't play, it's probably not going to work. Let me see if I can view this deleted message. So yeah, and Joel, like practicing is, yeah, of course practice pays off. Like I love practicing. And I always kind of view like practicing, the busier I get, the less time, or the busier we all get in life, the less time we have to practice. And I find that practicing is like a box. And sometimes you get like a smaller box, but what can you cram inside of that box? And can you like make it like really dense and heavy? Whereas sometimes like you have this, when you're younger, you have this big box and you just put like a wee little bit of nutrition into it or good practicing, and the rest is just like foam packing peanuts because you're like screwing around and having fun on your instrument, which is fine. But I find that, yeah, really focused practicing is really does pay off. And Dan, the drummer, like I'm a pocket player too. That's what I think. I just think pocket, pocket, stomping and clapping. That's what gets people moving. That's what gets people dancing. Trey, hey to you, Trey, as well. Thanks for joining. Stoney, how did I meet Kara? Good question. So Kara, I'll give you the abridged version of it. I use Kara as a great example of why, when you're first in town and you're developing your network, saying yes to a lot of gigs, even the ones that you're like, I'm not too crazy about that. So case in point, I one time picked up a random gig on Facebook. Somebody says, hey, I'm doing a shift tomorrow at this place, which I wasn't too crazy about playing because they don't get good crowds. The equipment's not that great there. The sound's not that great. But it was a 4-hour gig and I made like $75. Yeah, for 4 hours of playing. And everyone on that gig was pretty cool. Like, I wouldn't say there wasn't any amazing musicians, but there wasn't any bad ones. There's just like, and they were all nice people. And then someone in the band said, hey, I might need you for a sub. Can I get your number? And I said, sure. And I gave them my number. And sure enough, they called me to sub for a gig the next week with another group at that same venue that I didn't really like. And I knew that it was probably going to make another $60 or $75. So I said yes to that gig. And it was actually, Kara was randomly doing that gig, and she wasn't doing it as her original stuff. She was just brushing up on her country chops and doing cover stuff. And she's not really well versed at doing Broadway because that's not her thing. But she did that gig, and it was fine. We made like nothing in tips. So I think I walked away with like $60. But she messaged me about a few days later. She's like, hey, I'm doing a gig this weekend. Are you free? And I said, yeah, sure. And again, because I wasn't doing anything, and at the time, I really wasn't that like, I was like, probably not going to pay that well. But we started playing her original music, and her original music was really good. And I really enjoyed playing with her, and I just kind of stumbled in, like we just worked out well when we started playing together. So we've been playing together on a fairly regular basis. And I kind of got that from doing a couple gigs, which I didn't really like. And the way how I originally got that gig that was like, is like I slowly built up a name and a reputation for myself, like by like putting stuff online. And like just doing YouTube videos of me playing, even if it was just a random gig. And it wasn't to show off, it was just to show people that I was active and I was playing, and also just to keep in front of people's eyes, keep in front of their minds. And I find that if you have an active presence online, that opens up some doors. Now, that's not going to open up the big doors for you, but sometimes that opens up some smaller doors. And if you open up those doors, you get into some rooms that they lead to maybe some bigger places where you can access some bigger rooms. And I find that like putting stuff out there online was a good starter for me to like get into the conversation where people could call me for a gig and know that I would cover it. Now, is Taylor Swift going to call me for a gig tomorrow and ask me if I can cover it? No, because I'm not really in that room yet. But I'm kind of getting my way. I'm kind of opening up doors of smaller rooms that eventually lead to bigger rooms. And really, I think that's what playing and networking as a musician is all about. It's like spider webbing. It's like sometimes you're playing a gig and most of the people on that gig aren't great at all. There might be like one person that's like an avenue to connect you to like one person who then connects you to like 12 other people. And that's an important reason why I said yes to a lot of gigs my first year or two here. Now I'm being a little bit more selective because I have more avenues open and I only have so much time and energy to play with people, and I want to do things that are advancing my career. But yeah, that's kind of a great way to really get things going. And really do, I agree. Yeah, she is a great guitar. She has great tone. She has a great voice. I was talking with my stepfather, who is an amazing musician, and he played a gig with Cara once, and she's like, Sammy's like, she's a real talent, and that's high praise because he doesn't praise a lot of people. So yeah, Cara's she's one of my good buddies and one of my favorite people to play and hang out with. Yeah, she's great. Mick, all the way from the Netherlands. Hey, Mick, thanks for and Mick, you got a birthday coming up, so yeah, happy birthday, happy early birthday to you. So we're kind of running low on time here, but I want to know if there's any other questions I can answer for people, if there's anything people want to see coming up this week. I'm really trying my best to catch up on YouTube videos. I have some longer form videos coming out, like what it's like about touring, what it's like about having a kitten, what it's like about, the national number system charts. It's that when I'm playing so much, oh man, I just don't have time to do YouTube. And also, oh yeah, a side story, I almost died this week on the way home from a gig. My car literally came apart on the highway, like literally. Like, the rear driver side wheel just literally came apart, ball joint separated, totally came. So I need to buy a new car, pretty much, and that's gonna be yeah. So Maggie, I'm going live again. I believe I'm going live on Tuesday, and I might have a different link for that because that might be on these. That might be on. I might be doing that through a different service. But if you subscribe to my newsletter, I'm going to try to put a newsletter out either tonight or tomorrow about my different live gigs coming up this week where you can stream on my YouTube or where you can watch live. So I will try to get that out. So if you just subscribe to my newsletter and, the pitch of the cowbells, I don't have any sticks available right now, and I don't have any mics up for that. So Maggie, you're not on YouTube, but if you sign up for my newsletter, just subscribe to it. There should be, I should be able to, let me see if I can get a link, if I can link and put that in there. Let me see, yeah. So I'll just put this link in the chat. Wait, nope, does that work? Here, let me see if I can get that open up. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to copy and paste this YouTube link into the convo, or that link that will get you to my newsletter and kind of let you know. Let me see if I can just clear that out. That will get you to basically subscribe to my newsletter, and you can see the live streams coming up. But yeah, also, like, if you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, I think sometimes you get notifications. I think if you hit that bell, there's a bell icon that if you hit it, it'll let you know when I'm going live. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard doing this stuff and like keeping everybody posted. I feel like I need a manager for my social media or for my all my business stuff because I'm playing so much, doing so much content out there. There we go. Yeah, it's really just I'm just just like everyone else, trying to do the best I can. Trey, you are so welcome. Yeah, if you have, I always say, like, sooner is better than later. Like, Nashville is always changing and evolving. It's always going to be here. There's always going to be music here. And whenever you get here, it's always going to take you a little bit of time to figure out the scene. Yeah. So I have to say thank you to everybody for watching. Thanks for your comments. I really love talking with other musicians, other people curious about what this journey is like, because, listen, we are all one and the same. And I really want to help as many people along the way or answer as many questions. People are weird on here. Well, I got to say, people are weird on the internet. People are weird in real life. It's a weird time. But I also like to view it as, like, okay, I've met some great people here as well. What's the best thing that could possibly happen? And a lot of good things have happened from here. So I'm gonna sign off here for the day. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. And again, if you can always contact me at aaronaptermusic@gmail.com. And Brad, what's up, Cat Daddy? Thank you so much for hey, that's not Louisville, that is in St. Louis. Brad, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm gonna sign off here. Thanks so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, you can always contact me at aaronaptermusic@gmail.com. Sign up for the newsletter. I'll be sending something out a little bit later today or maybe tomorrow morning. Thanks so much, and I will see you all later this week on lives, and if not, see you in next week's live chat.